Namaste. Today we will read a passage from Savitri which comes at the end of the greater life. So basically, in this passage, we hear the cry of life, and that cry of life is in all of us. It's the cry for a beautiful world, a better world, a harmonious world. We want to see God, we want God to be here, we want to have darshan of Him. All this cry is there. And Sri Aurobindo acknowledges this cry, but the one thing that we need to remember is whether we like it or not, life is not a wishful thinking. Things don't happen because we want them or because we wish them. There is a process by imagination, by sentimental idealism. One place Sri Aurobindo says at one place that the new world cannot be created by sentimental idealism, by wishful thinking. We have that beautiful song, which many such songs, but one of them, "Aaj chal ke tujhe leke chalu," and they appeal because they connect with the deeper cry within us. But what we learn in yoga is that by merely wishing, by merely imagining, wanting, even in intense emotional upsurge, we cannot create a new world. New world is created by the pressure of will and faith. That is what is called as tapas. And of course, grace, sanctioned by the grace. But it's good to understand what is this cry. Sri Aurobindo puts it in very beautiful, powerful way. Of course, naturally, these passages are those that have particularly appealed to me. And this passage particularly has a very personal connect because it was this passage of Savitri which I first saw ever in my life. I didn't know what Savitri is. I was in Indian Air Force and I had walked into somebody's office, and on his table below the glass top, this was part of one of those message cards from the ashram. It was put there. And when I read it, I said, this is mind-boggling. I don't know what emotions came up to me. I said, yes, this is it. There is somebody who has embodied, given words to what is felt inside in all of us. He puts it very beautifully. It's on page 199 to 190 to 200. He describes the greater life. Greater life is basically this center, the emotional center, from where we long for beautiful things. The little life is centered around food, sexuality, desires, and to an extent ambition. Ambition comes a little more higher up, but it's a life centered around these things. Roti, kapda, makan. But there is a greater need in life, and that life has created many beautiful things on earth. It's not that because of it, Sri Aurobindo says there have been landings from the other worlds. Many of the Puranic gods, the vital gods, have descended in response to this cry. But they come and go, they cannot change this world. That something else is needed. Our life is a march to a victory never won. Now, again, as I say, that if we just take this one sentence, it will give a very different meaning. This comes in Savitri at a given point of time when he is describing the greater life. Our life is a march to a victory never won. This wave of being longing for delight. This is the longing in greater life. It's not satisfied just with food, shelter, dress, desires. It wants something else. Delight of existence, true love, pure love, perfect happiness. This eager turmoil of unsatisfied strength, these long, far files of forward striving hopes, lift worshipping eyes to the blue void called heaven, looking for the golden hand that never came. So there is in this cry It prepares us, but therein it is in this a hope and an anguish. It never came. That's what people say, because when they long to have this new world only with the power of some kind of a sentimental idealism or of emotion, it doesn't work. So after years, even decades, they say it never came. It never came because that's not how it will be. It doesn't mean it is wasted. Elsewhere, Sri Aurobindo says a long, dim preparation is human life. So there is a preparation which has gone on, one life meant for longing, but it cannot come by that. We can have some touches, some experience, some of the gods here and there responding, some feel good factor, but it is not this which can create the new world. The advent for which all creation waits, the beautiful visage of eternity that shall appear upon the roads of time. If you really look at, in all religions, there is this idea of second coming. Christians believe that Christ will come again and set right the disorder of the world. They don't realize that the disorder is now built around the body of Christ. Buddhists believe Buddha will come back as Amitabh Buddha, but Buddha is not going to speak Pali again. He is not going to say that, read my Dhammapada, that is given at that point of time. Sri Krishna speaks of Sambhavami Yoge Yuge, I will come again. But if we imagine that he will again be born in Yadukul, he will once again engage in Ras, no, it won't be like that. He will. So, if in one sense, when I look at Sri Aurobindo, I have always felt he is the second coming for whom all have waited. So many, it's the concept of avatar is there in Christianity and Buddhism in this way. Second coming. He'll come again. Meaning thereby all the problems of earth have not been sorted out. So somebody will come with a final answer. So the beautiful visage of eternity. Yet still to ourselves we say rekindling faith. So the whole lifetime is spent and he never comes. Somebody asked recently to me a question that when will Kalki come? So I said he has probably come and gone and we didn't recognize him. Because we expect him to be born, if you read the Bhavishya Purana, in the house of a Brahmin called Yash. In 1962, all these details I had noted when I had read it. So I was trying to mix and match who can be Kalki. But then when I read ki he will mount on a white horse with a sword, and then he will be lame, and with this sword mounting on a white horse he will slay all the mlechas. And then there will be lot of heavy rain. And there will be pralaya and all evil will be wiped out and good will start. So it was very evident it's a symbolic story. And the mother has said that, Sri Aurobindo has also said the details are symbolic. You don't expect somebody to actually come on a white steed with a sword and fight and, destroy the mlechas. And if at all somebody really, really fits that description, it is Sri Aurobindo. It is he whose clarion call sent the mlechas away. Mlechas actually was a term used for, the Britishers who had invaded India. Before that, the Mughals. And the word had a very interesting connotation. Mal, this comes to dirt. So those who desire that which is dirty. So India at one point of time, now it's a fallen India we see, there was so much importance to Suchita, cleanliness of mind and body. I don't know, people who have grown up, some of us have grown up with this idea. So clean the house. Even now it's so beautiful to see the local women doing kolam outside. In the morning they will get up, they will clean the house. So this used to be a way of life. Then of course over a period of time it got lost, which is really sad. But to have the wish for nirmal things. My emotion should be nirmal. My thought should be nirmal. My will should be nirmal. It's still rooted deep inside our psyche. But mlecha is those who, in the Gita it is described the evildoers who are scheming, planning wrong deeds. They are saying one thing but deep inside they are scheming. how they can take advantage of you. So that is called mlech. So if we look at Sri Aurobindo, this was exactly how people from the East India Company came, as if they were going to do business, but basically they had come to loot. So this is precisely what is called as the Asuric way. Or if you see the Second World War, Hitler, completely, propaganda that, I am going to bring in a new, real good race, but it was to dominate, possess, and destroy everything else. So if ever there is the singular, I would say, in spiritual history, in fact, I would say of mankind, apart from Parshuram, Rama, and Krishna, which is the lineage you can see, who fought against human representatives of darkness and pushed them away. We see Sri Aurobindo. Parshurama with his axe, merciless, brutal killing. Lord Rama in a much more decent, dignified way. Shri Krishna by his silent will most of the time. And Sri Aurobindo sitting in a room. So we see the entire evolution. But his spiritual will was against the British Empire and against the Germans. And against the Axis powers, not just Germans. And he won. Ultimately it succeeded. So we have this description of the second coming. So if we really look at it, the white horse is the pure spiritual force. The Divine Mother represents that white steed, pure spiritual force, tapasya. And of course, the sword is the sword of knowledge, with which he completely annihilated darkness. And the lameness, Mother once remarked that the accident of Sri Aurobindo partly was because of this collective suggestion that Kalki would be lame. So one can see that, but so when he is writing is for ages, we can imagine what anguish human beings have gone through. I remember Tulsidas, now I don't recollect the full pad, when the mandir was being destroyed where Lord Rama is born. He went through so much pain. What could he do? They must have seen the entire place being run over, what they would have felt and experienced. We have a little image of it in Anand Math of Bankim Chandra. When they have they have made sure that the Mughal invaders, they are beginning to lose. And then they see the English with their guns walk in. So he says, what is this? Is this what we really fought for? And then their leader tells them, no, this is the way it is to be. And they have to rule for another few hundred years, then they will also go. So if we look at it, what these people would have experienced, we don't even know, we can't even imagine what it must have been. It's a very sobering, humbling thought. And for 1,000 years, it's not, when the first invasion took place, then second, inquisitions, Black Plague. So what people would have waited? The Advent. When will Christ come again? When will Krishna come again? When will Buddha come again? And yet there is something in man which doesn't lose hope. Yet still to ourselves we say rekindling faith. Now comes the passage which was there as the message. Oh, surely one day he shall come to our cry. One day he shall create our life anew. This is the aspiration in life. Life doesn't want to escape. Why would life want to escape? Life always wants to renew, to create, to revel in delight. This is the nature of life. And utter the magic formula of peace and bring perfection to the scheme of things. So perfection, of course, we have spoken about it. You can understand in different ways. One of the ways of understanding perfection is things are not in their place. So this will set things in their place and it will lift up everything to its utmost divine possibility. Which is how it should be. Why should it be that we are told that we have divine within? And of course, a matter of discovery and experience. But we don't naturally know him. The only one truth, reality, we don't know naturally. We have to do so much hard work, tapasya, sadhana, grace, to have just a glimpse. One day he shall descend to life and earth, leaving the secrecy of the eternal doors. That's why beyond a point religion pales. Because how long can you read that, okay, they were gods, they did this, they did that. It's wonderful. But you want life to be created anew. It's very good. It keeps your hopes, faith, possibility. But you hear those story ki Vaikunt Dwar khul gaye is wonderful. But we want this to become Vaikunt. That's how it should be. Leaving the secrecy of the eternal doors into a world that cries to him for help, and bring the truth that sets the spirit free. The joy that is the baptism of the soul, the sign that one has touched the soul. Very often people expect, all kinds of experiences. When mother was asked, what is the sign that somebody is living in the psychic? What is the sign that somebody is living in the soul? Mother said, a smile in all circumstances. The joy that is the baptism of the soul. How do we know that we are baptized? True baptization. Baptism is a ritual which is done to say that one is second born, twice born, dvij. So twice born means now you are born to the spirit. First birth is birth in the body, birth in ignorance. Second birth is, which is the act of initiation. We are born to the spirit. What is the sign of that? There is a natural joy, baptism of the soul. The joy that is the baptism of the soul. The strength that is the outstretched arm of love. This line is simply amazing. Love that is weak, love that is cowardly. So in many of the Indian stories, you will find in Western context also. So we all have heard about Laila Majnu, Shiri Farhad, Romeo Juliet. But why are they so tragic? Why is it that Majnu has to be stoned and a fellow is dying on the road? That's not what love is. Strength, the outstretched arm of love. Look at the love in the context here. So we have the story of Prithviraj Chauhan. He goes in the middle of the whole thing and takes somebody whom he loves. Or Krishna himself, Rukmani Haran, Subhadra, Draupadi. Look at love and strength coming together. Rama, what is that love for which he marches all the way with an army of monkeys? If you see, after all, he's an avatar, so he's not all the time that I am a god and I'll do things by magic or miracle. For the sake of love, I mean, if we had to put it in modern poetry, and surely Valmiki will excuse us. Somebody asked Rama, why did you come? Now, Valmiki is in the Indian context, so he'll say dharma. But if it was a Western context, it would have been, I came for the sake of love. Love that has woven the stars. I came for love of Janki. Now, if you look at that story, it's so powerful. It's a story of love. Who else would, I mean, it's illogical to do it. It's impractical to do so. And particularly in a context where you can always say, God's will, and take refuge in one of the mountains and say, he renounced the kingdom, but he did not renounce Janki at that point of time. Look at that, because that's not the way. She is helplessly under the control of an asura and he must go and conquer her and bring her back. So this is the strength. That is the outstretched arm of love. One day, he shall lift his beauty's dreadful veil. What is the dreadful veil? This world, mask of terror, pain, death. He has worn this veil because otherwise we don't move. When he comes with his beauty's beautiful visage, then we are very happy just dancing with him and so nice. Yamuna ke tat par, kadam ke niche, murli ki bansuri baji, everything is fine. And we are very happy and satisfied with it. It's true actually. So, but that's not enough, because delight and freedom Only when truth is established. So, what happened during that time, we all know. Even amongst, all they were celestial beings. But still, if you read the Puranas, and Sri Krishna has come to show delight and freedom. And yet, world is not ready. So, there is the Chakrapani and Mahabharata. So, he has to wear this veil. What is that veil? He wears on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and says, I am death, time the destroyer. Not death, I am time the destroyer. So that is the veil. One day he shall lift his beauty's dreadful veil, but behind it, it is he who is hiding. Impose delight on the world's beating heart and bear his secret body of light and bliss. It's a remarkable lines that the divine's body is supposed to be a body of light and bliss, and one day he will bear it. Right now he is coming under the visage of death, destruction, ruin, terror, and that's not what we want. So, this is the passage, the great assurance. But now we strain to reach an unknown goal. There is no end of seeking and of birth. There is no end of dying and return. The life that wins its aim asks greater aims. The life that fails and dies must live again. Till it has found itself, it cannot cease. And then come these two marvelous lines with which we'll close. All must be done for which life and death were made. But who shall say that even then is rest? So this is the cry of life. But the beauty is, when we read Savitri, just after this greater life, and before one enters into paradise, you have the descent into night. So everybody who strives for a greater world, a higher world, must go through that passage. Even the radiant children of gods, they too must go through that passage, the dark passage. It should not be, the mother and Sri Aurobindo do not want, they want the sunlit path, because they know what it means. It is so dark and dangerous. Souls pinned to the ground may never wake up. All that they have seen, we'll read it in other gems because that's also important. But mere wishful thinking, if we don't have such aspirations, hopes, then life is on a low pitch, seemingly safe. It's very interesting. People who are happy with roti, kapda, makan and little more of money, they are fine, outwardly so to say, but they are moving within limits. They don't realize it. But the moment you have aspiration for perfection, wish for true love, for bliss that never fades, bas, then you have to take a dip in the Vaitarani and then emerge into the paradise. This is the law, and none can, do without it, except there are few who tread the sunlit path. That means complete surrender and faith. And there too, Sri Aurobindo says you have to still go through the difficulties. Only inwardly you don't feel them. Because you are with Krishna. At the end of the day, if Krishna is driving the chariot and Arjuna is sitting behind, everything is there. But at the end of the day, he is with Krishna. So that is the sunlit path he has opened for man, because he knows that this is the aspiration and there is no way to fulfill it without going through that mask of terror and darkness. And that's what Mother didn't want, another pralaya. She wants to go beyond. She has thrown a bridge across the abyss through which we can move. We can feel a little bit of his fumes, but not that fall into the ditch and then go. Her love reaches even there. But we feel its Agni, that purifying fire, that's all. And then we cross over to the new world. New world.